In your teeth.
Hi everyone, this is Kathie from The Quiet Rebellion, and today we have Tessa from the Homestead Lady with us. How are you, Tessa?
I'm good. I'm here. I'm showered. I'm dressed. I'm
There you
amazing.
go. Right? I always have to like check to make
Right.
sure that my
I don't
hair,
know.
because usually I have hair sticking up. Every time I do like a video chat with a friend, I'm always like, oh,
Well, it's
fuck.
winter and the static
Right.
electricity is nuts.
That's right. And then, I brush my hair once in the morning. And so
I
whatever
did it.
happens during the day, I might not do it again. And we don't know what it'll look like.
Look,
So
we're
there you go.
quietly rebelling against
That's
all
right.
things.
That's right. That's right. Including
Hairbrushes.
properly brushed hair. Yeah.
Whatever.
All right. Today we are going to talk about Hygge, which I'm very excited to talk about with you because you have a book coming out about this very topic. But before we dive in, can you, for anyone who might not know, can you briefly explain what Hygge is?
Yes, I will do my best because Hygge doesn't have a direct translation in English. And it's more of a feeling rather than a hardcore, I do this and I am Hyggified. That's
Yeah.
not actually a Danish word, actually. It's Hyggelit.
Right.
Anyway, so Hygge is, in a general sense, creating an environment where the goal is to help people feel comfortable. Cozy is a word that an American would use. Um, Peaceful. And Hygge is all about creating relationships. So the relationship with the environment that you're in, with nature, definitely with people. So you can Hygge on your own, but like not forever. Not that can't be your only form of Hygge to be authentic, because it is about establishing relationships in your community, definitely in the community of your family. Even if that's not the kind of family you have right now, you can use the principles of Hygge to improve your family relationships, your personal relationships. Even you can Hygge in your office or in your car. But typically it's focused on the home. So we want people coming into our home to feel welcome and free to be themselves, relaxed, safe, peaceful, that kind of thing. So a lot of times Hygge is often associated with the winter months, because in Scandinavia, like winter's a thing. It's a lot of the year. And it's also the darkest part of the year, especially for them because they're so far north. So a lot of Hygge has to do with warmth. Like if you go on Pinterest and you type Hygge aesthetic, you'll get chunky socks and sweaters and blankets and fireplaces. And that's all important, but I would say that's more of the kind of the surface level of Hygge. I've come to really appreciate it as I've been studying it and experiencing it, and it's way deeper than socks. But for a lot of people, that's where they start, and that's fine.
Right. And the aesthetic stuff tends to be consumerism disguised.
Once it hit America,
Right.
Wicking wrote this book, The Little Book of Hygge,
Yep.
and I've read, I think, pretty every Hygge book on the market, and his is still my favorite.
Yeah.
And he basically introduced Hygge to the United States. And for better or for worse, what we do when we get a cool concept is we market it. So there was a lot of consumerism and commercialism that came up around it. And like I said, if that's where you start, like if that's what draws you in because you love that cozy look, that's fine. That's kind of a part of it. But you do not have to spend gobs of money on trademarked Hygge stuff.
Right.
That's kind of anti-Hygge.
Right, and that is not what we do here at the Quiet
No,
Rebellion. We're all
definitely
about
not.
rejecting that kind of thing. And I understand, right? Like I understand, especially when you're starting something new, you want to like get the stuff, but you probably already have the stuff.
You do have the stuff. You already have this. You don't have to buy a thing. You already have it.
Right. Okay, and so yeah, I get it, right? Like I love the aesthetic too. Like sometimes I'll look at those pictures and they're just like they're gorgeous photos, and yeah, and they feel good. But like, yeah, you don't have to buy everything.
When I'm so visual, I'm like picture gullible girl. I love the photos. Well, and you've got it behind you actually with your little twinkle lights.
Oh yeah.
And your special things that are up on. I've always wanted to come visit you in your office place.
Yeah.
But that's all what you're already doing, Hygge. Like it's right there.
Right. Yeah. Well, I love a cozy life, right? And I think simplicity, choosing to live a simple life it is very much a cozy life, and it is very much about relationships. So that's why this is a great topic.
Yeah.
And so, why do you think it would be important for folks who want to live a quietly rebellious life? Why do you think they should incorporate Hygge and these kinds of concepts? Like, how could this help them be a little more rebellious, maybe quietly?
So that was you gave me a list of questions to think about, and that was the one probably that I pondered the most, because how I've related to Hygge has changed over the last several years. Like I said, it's deepened. So actually, the book that I'm working on is Hygge Homestead, and it turned out when I was writing Homestead Holidays, which was our second big book that we released, Hygge Homestead was inside of it at first, and I finished the first draft. I'm like, this book is 600 pages. That's crazy. What did I do? And I realized that I wrote a whole section that was just Hygge centered. And so I pulled it out, and I've been working on it for the last 4 years while I live my life and do other things. And during that time period, so I wrote good things. Like, there's good stuff in there, daily rituals, bedtimes, bath times, family times, all stuff that's important and very Hygge centered and important. But over the last 4 years, we've had a really hard time. Like, our family has just had we've been displaced for 4 years. I won't tell you the whole story, but Hygge, my initial understanding of it kind of was shattered. Like, I feel like I didn't have any Hygge, because I was living in a very tiny house, which actually tiny space can help you be cozy. But in this case, I've got some of my family living in this tiny space and some living over here. So my children weren't all in it was a very weird time in our lives. Anyway, and it was just hard. And I started realizing that I was tired and emotionally wrung out, and I wasn't doing the things that I normally did that were intrinsically Hygge. And so we were all feeling it. We were all suffering. Sure. And I had to get myself back into it. So there's this, I don't know if your audience is young. They probably have never even heard of Apollo 13. There was a movie that was made after the event. Like, some of your audience probably wasn't even born. That's how old I am.
Some of them weren't, but plenty of them
Some of them were. So there was this experience and I promise this will make sense in just a minute. Apollo 13, the astronauts were heading up to the moon, and all of a sudden during a routine check, one of their CO2 filters started malfunctioning. So they had plenty of oxygen. They were breathing just fine, except that every breath they were expelling CO2, which is toxic, and the filter wasn't working. So every second, their lives were getting closer to ending, surrounded by oxygen, but their environment was becoming toxic because of what they were doing. And down at Mission Control, NASA was like, they don't have our fancy equipment. NASA, they could have fixed it on the ground. They had all of the special stuff. But up in the shuttle, they only had they had pipes and hoses and duct tape. And so the team at NASA threw all the stuff that they would have in the shuttle on a table and said, and this is how you know this scene for those of us this age, it was the square peg round hole scene, where they say, we've got to fit this filter into this unit using only what's on this table, because that's what they have in the shuttle. And for some reason, I was thinking about that scene today as I was thinking about this question. When you are trying to quietly rebel against our current culture, so much of it is saturated in sadness and anxiety and fear, especially when you've got kids and you're watching them interact with technology, and AI is threatening to take over our lives, and we don't really even understand how yet, and it's happening so fast. It can be a real temptation to give in to this maelstrom of, there's nothing I can do. That it's too big a problem and I can't fight it. Or you can decide to quietly rebel. And that's why I so appreciate what you're doing with the podcast, because this is exactly what people need. We don't want to throw our hands up in the air and just say, oh, well, I guess my kid's going to be depressed and anxious, or me or my family members or whatever. Or I can't do anything to change the culture. It's too big a problem. We are surrounded by all the things we need, all the oxygen we need to live happy lives, but we are taking in too much poison. There's too much toxin that we're breathing in, breathing out. And so we have to figure out how to get that square peg into the round hole, and only with the tools that we have in our homes. Because most of us can't afford to go buy fancy stuff, or we feel like, I need this technology or this program or this course.
And the fancy stuff never really solves anything anyway.
doesn't. You spend gobs of money on stuff that just doesn't work. The answer is always, what do we learn in the local food movement? The answer is always local. It's always the smallest solution produces the best, most lasting results. So that's what Hygge is. If you have decided, no, I'm not just going to go along and watch my family fall apart or my mental health disappear or whatever it is you're struggling with, I am going to take the tools that I have and I'm going to make this work. And it's not fancy. It's just the stuff on the table. It's just the stuff in your house. And the funny part was they come out with this contraption. It's like got a plastic, their mission report. They took the plastic off of it and they wrapped it around this box. It's got duct tape and things coming off. I'm like, yeah, that looks like me, like every day and my efforts of what I'm doing. But it worked. They were able to do it. The astronauts took it, they put it together with what they had, and they lived and they breathed clean air. And so that's what Hygge can do. It's not a replacement for your God. Hygge is not a replacement for your family. It's not a replacement for anything. It's just a tool to help you maybe get closer to your God and definitely your family and all the things that are actually important about human connection. So especially when we think about AI, it's completely from my view, I mean, I've heard ethicists argue differently, but from my view, it's very anti-human, anti-real relationship. So as that grows, I want to pull away from that and reestablish or strengthen my actual human relationships. So I'm going to put my phone down and I want to do human things with other humans in my human world. And Hygge can help.
That's great. I loved everything that you
And now I want to go watch Apollo 13 because I don't remember. I remember it was good, but I remember how they got back home and all that.
You said some really profound things there. Like I'm really gonna have to process them, and I can't wait to transcribe this later and really dig into that. It was so great. So all right, and we had talked about this, but obviously Hygge is often thought of as a very winter activity. And I live pretty far north, right? I live in Northwest Montana. So in the winter, I am dark and cold for a long time. So I understand that. But we can take it with us through other seasons. So
Absolutely.
Can you maybe help us understand, obviously we understand kind of the idea of cozy winter and
right. That's not hard to understand because intrinsically all people, even active task-oriented people like me in the winter, we want to go hibernate. We want to follow what nature's doing.
Right. Obviously we're all about seasonal living here. So
yeah.
But can you maybe
read your stuff?
Let's just go through the season. So let's take spring and then go.
Okay, so as we move into spring, which we're doing right now, it's very simple things. And if you follow any Scandinavian sites or you touch actual cultural Hygge, they can help you because this is in their blood. Like this is what they do all year long. So they can help you with deeper information than what I'm going to provide. This is kind of superficial, but super effective. So as spring comes, I have a hard time, especially where I live in Missouri, we have mini spring, then we have dead cold. Then we have fake spring number 1. And then we go back to sub-zero temperatures, which we're not even supposed to have in my growing zone, but whatever. And then we have anyway, takes us 4 tries to get to spring. Right. So I'm slow to wake up and get going. Spring is the difference between winter and spring living is huge. Those transitional seasons like spring and fall, Hygge can really help. And the way that it helps me the most is to go out in the natural world and start bringing stuff into my house that is slowly emerging and waking up. And when I see it, it's oh, it's time to be awake. I got to go sow my seeds. I got all this stuff I got to do. And it's fun. And it creates relationships with my kids who help me and then the natural environment. So bringing that stuff into my house is really effective for me and it's totally free. So in the fall, it's stuff like fall leaves and pine cones and things that are telling me, oh, it's time to start going in gathering again. It's time to harvest and come in. But the spring stuff tells me if you have forsythia, which grows wild all over North America, bring in a branch even before. If you see the little tiny buds start to swell on it, they don't even have to flower yet. If they're swelling, cut off a little branch, bring it in your house, put it in some water, and the flowers will open up. And they're this bright yellow, and they're so cheerful. It's a small, simple thing, but I keep some near my desk to remind me I got work to do. It's beautiful. It's good. Let's go. Wake up. Because I really like resting in winter.
Yeah, right. Who doesn't, right? Well, the thing I obviously I've been preaching and talking about living seasonally for a long time. And I have lived a seasonal life. And so I do find that Like now, so it's been unseasonably warm here. We were like below 0 a week ago, and then today it was
Yeah.
50. It's
Yep.
just crazy, crazy weather. And so, but like I'm ready. Like today, I was like, oh, I'm ready for the greenhouse, but I'm not. Like I shouldn't even step foot in
Think
there
about
yet, but
it.
I'm ready to. So I find that your body, if you follow the rhythms, if you allow yourself, you figure out like I'm ready. As much as I was ready to rest, I'm ready to not
Right.
rest now. I'm
And I
outside.
think a lot of that, so as a proactive thing to do, go out and bring in some nature, moss, whatever it is that you've got where you are. But
Right.
then also as sort of a thing to cut out, try putting down your phone. Like
Yeah.
just put it down for a certain amount of time per day or do a whole week. You just don't get on your phone. And you will find that you get back into the rhythm of those human things, connecting
Right.
with nature, connecting with your family. And spring is a great time to do that. It's the perfect time. In fact, a lot of people set goals at the new year. I usually set them in the springtime because I feel like that's when I wake up and I want to make changes and improvements.
Right.
So that's another like that's a thing to put away and then bring in the natural stuff.
Right. Absolutely. And I agree with you. Like and you still carry this idea, of course, of like a welcoming home environment, which
Mhm.
so often in our culture now, we have a tendency to like meet our friends out, and that's fine. I'm
Right.
not opposed to that, right? Like I'm not opposed to. I certainly have girlfriends that we go for hikes together, right?
Mhm.
And that's great. But we also should welcome people into our homes, and that's very almost counterculture, I think. And part
Right.
of it, I think, is that of course we have very unrealistic expectations of what our houses should look like.
Yes.
Of
Yes.
course,
Thank you, social media.
right? Like, well, I mean, I think we could probably blame good housekeeping for most
Right.
of what we need
Anything.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Media.
So,
Just media.
yeah, it's just in general, right? So I think that and I think that Hygge can help us with this. Maybe you can tell me,
Mhm.
but that we allow, that it's a welcoming space. A welcoming space doesn't have to be sterile clean.
That's
It can be
that's
tidy,
anti-hygge. Like
right?
so Scandinavians, just part of their culture, they're relatively clutter free. So I think, but then I
Right.
think there's a difference between the things that you live with and make your home and then junk you don't need. And so
Right.
I'm all for purge every 6 months, just go through your house and get rid of stuff you don't use, donate it so that maybe other people can be blessed by it. But you don't need stuff. And that was part of the Hygge commercialism that really bothered me was buy this thing, put it in your home, and you will have Hygge. Like it was a magic fairy dust or something. Hygge is in your heart. It's something that you feel. It's something that you create with who you are, not some projection of who even you want to be. It's who you are because relationships can't be faked. So yes, Hygge can absolutely help us just be who we are, relax in this environment and be real. And when I have people come over, I definitely wash my dishes, but I'm not
Oh yeah.
repainting my front door. Like
Yeah.
that's silly.
I feel like there's a difference between tidy and
Sterile.
yeah, and obsessively clean. We heat with wood in my house. In the winter it is always dusty,
Ashy and
sort of.
yeah. And the
Yeah, it's
cats
just
take it
never
everywhere.
right. Yeah, and I've got cats, so there's cat hair. I mean, there's just like that's my house, but it's tidy. You can come in and sit and eat on the table and know that the food is clean, the place is
Absolutely.
clean. So,
Well, and
I,
because I know you, I know that if I go to Kathie's house, I'm walking into a place that is totally handmade. And
right,
she, like the food that she's giving me is because she loves me and
right,
really wants to feed me, minister to
right,
me through food. And I'm all
right,
about that. So I'm coming to experience you,
right.
not your things.
Right, and I never notice when I go to someone's house. I
No, I
never
don't either.
notice.
I mean,
I'm
I'm
like,
sure
oh,
there are some personalities that do, but that's not me.
that's right. It's not me. I never know, and I feel like very few people do. I'm sure there are some people who do,
Yeah.
right? And I'm sure if you have some sort of obsessive compulsive disorder, that's probably a very difficult
Right.
thing. But for those of us who don't have those kinds of issues,
And Hygge can kind of help you shed that. Like you just
right,
get used to cozy.
right. Cozy is a wonderful thing.
It's a
Yeah,
great
and
word.
so
It's a great English
yeah.
word for the
Yeah,
Hygge.
and I had my aunt and uncle were here visiting us in September, and it was still relatively nice. But my aunt, I mean, they're 79, so they're not like spring chickens. But
Right.
she was sitting in the chair, and we were kind of watching TV or something, and just relaxing after doing some stuff. And she was like, I could use a blanket, and I was like, okay, I'll get you a blanket. Like, and I gave it to her, and it was made by someone, of course, that we
Uh-huh.
both know. And I was like, oh, and that was made by Paula, And she's like, is it? Yeah. And so, it's just this idea that it's going to be cozy. And if you come to my house, if you're cold, even if it's September and I wouldn't
Oh
light a
yeah.
fire, I
Totally.
will give you a blanket,
Absolutely.
or extra clothes or
There's,
whatever you need.
I think, some sort of cosmic kismet that hygge sounds like the English word for hug. Really, it's like you give yourself and your home and your people and your garden a big old hug.
Right. And so we have been kind of talking about this all along, but how can hygge, because this is really an important part, I think, is how can hygge help us slow down without becoming an overwhelming thing we have to do?
Right.
So how can it help us slow down and maybe connect to the natural world, or just help us slow down kind of the chaotic pace of modern life?
Well, so I think if you were to say the vision statement for hygge, or just the natural reality of a hygge lifestyle, is that because it's all about relationships, you have to slow down. You can't fake it. Like, you have to slow down and think about the people in your home, the people coming to visit, the environment, that what relationship you have with your bedroom. So one of the parts I was just working on in Hygge Homestead was like my hygge emergency kit that sits on my bedside table. And it's the things that I have a relationship with that help me usually calm down for sleep, because that's where it is. So I think the most important thing, and you can kind of keep that as an esoteric concept, but I'm a very task-oriented person. And so I need to kind of distill it down into, okay, what do I have to do? Now, this is a fine line, because hygge is not about doing a list of things. But when something is new, or I have a deliberate goal, then I like to have a list of ideas or specific goals that I want to achieve, because that becomes a metric. Am I actually doing what I said I wanted to do? So one of the first things I would suggest that anybody do, if they're interested in hygge, first learn more about it. If you've never heard of it, learn what it is. And then, for subscribers on my site, I have a little workbook, a hygge workbook that can help you. That's very simple little activities. And then at the very end, after you've gone through all these little, rather surface, but important to distill you down into the last few sections, are pages that help you brainstorm what hygge means for you. So you just write words and you don't even think about them. It has to be a free write. And if you repeat words, that's actually really cool, because the next section is to have you take those words and create, it's something called a word cloud. Oh, yeah. I don't know if everybody's heard of them, but I'm sure you've seen them in various places online. It's a collection of words around a certain topic, and the ones that you repeat are bigger on this graphic. So all the words are represented around your single theme, which in our case is going to be hygge. And then around it are these words that are meaningful to you. This is how I understand hygge right now. And it's fun to do that and then do it a year later and see if something has been added or taken away. And then the very last page, pardon me, is to have you take all of those ideas and craft a vision statement and a mission statement for your family and yourself. And for some people, this is just too restrictive. Like, I don't want to put it down in words. It's like codifying it. It's too much. And that's fine. Just skip that if that's not something that you want to do. But for me, it's helpful, because the vision statement will say, this is my overall goal with hygge. So it can include things like you said, I want to slow down. I'm moving too fast. My family is all over the map. We never see each other, never look in each other's eyes. This is a huge part of hygge. There's another word that probably people have heard called fika. Fika is like in English we'd call it a coffee break, but it's deeper than that. You sit down and you eat something yummy and you drink something yummy and you talk to somebody. And that, in my case, a lot of times is just my kids. I look in their eyes for 15 minutes and we have a conversation and we connect. And then you get up and go about your day. So little principles like this that you can just toss in. They don't cost any money. They aren't hugely stressful. I'm going to take a fika break with my oldest kid. And so that goes on my list. So that's not part of my vision statement, because that's an overarching goal. This is what I want to accomplish with hygge. That stuff goes on the mission statement, which is the very last thing I have you fill out. And it's just, here's a list of things that I'm going to try doing to see if I can create a hygge environment that does what I want it to do. And then you go back and tweak it like you do any goal sheet. So there's this overall philosophy that can help you in any way you embrace it, slow down and connect more with people, especially. But then there are some tangible things that you can do for yourself to use as metrics. I did this, I didn't do that. I did that, I hated it. So we're not going to do that again. We're going to try this other thing.
That's
sometimes
part of
narrowing
it.
down what you don't want to do is just as important as adopting new traditions.
I think that sometimes I heard a speaker years ago. This was like at a very professional conference, but and like not at all has nothing to do with simple living or hygge or anything else. But the guy was like, I every day I have a to do and a to don't list,
Mm,
and he said I do that every day. Like in the morning, I write out my to do and my to don't, and I that has stuck with me for a long time. I don't write it out like that, but it has really stuck with me because that's a big part of living intentionally is
mhm.
what you want to do and what you don't want to do. Like I don't want to go rush through my life and not have dinner with my husband, right?
Right.
Having dinner with my husband is a really important part of our day because we're busy and we're active a lot, but that time is important, and that's so I don't miss that unless I mean
It's
sometimes life
actually
falls
the
apart,
point
but
of life. Like all the other
right,
stuff we do to provide for ourselves, you have to do that. You have to wash the dishes, you have to have a job.
right,
But the point of living is these relationships and taking time for them and not
right,
just going from being born to dying. There's a
right,
whole lot of
right,
life in there in between. You got to seize
right,
it.
right. And people and families are really important. And so a couple of the things obviously that we touched on, and because I know you just love your family, like Tessa loves
When they're
her
not making me
family.
crazy, yes. I
Well,
love
that's
my
all part of it
children.
too.
They teach me good
She
life lessons.
loves her family, and she's so it's just a part of who she is. It's a wonderful part of who she is. But so how can hygge help us support our families, and as an extension of that, like our community, our local community, the people who surround us, who maybe don't live with us, but are obviously important to us. So how can hygge help us with all of those kinds of relationships?
Well, so I come at it from especially a homesteading perspective, and in something homesteading has taught me is that I mean, you can be an island, like you can go live in a cave by yourself, but it's not what most humans are craving. Most of us crave connection. In fact, if we learned anything in 2020, it's that we really need connections with other people. So that was kind of an unintended consequence of a horrible thing
Right,
that was happening. But we all
right,
learned how much we need each other. And I appreciate technology like this. You and I mean, we haven't
sure,
talked in forever, and here we are on a
right,
video call. I love technology like this,
yeah,
but it's not a replacement. Again, it's just a tool on the table. It's not the actual point of, I would much rather be in your dining room right now, having you feed me some of
right,
your
me
fabulous
too,
food and having this conversation in
me
person.
too,
We just can't do
yeah,
that today, but that's fine. Who, because it's all about relationships. So one of the things that it can help you do is, in some measure, it's good to have a really broad vision. Like we need to be aware that the world is wide and it goes
right,
beyond our door, and there people have all different kinds of experiences. So in many ways, it's good to have this worldwide consciousness. But what hygge does in so many different ways is it focuses you back inward in a healthy sort of way. So if you take the example of, I have a goal. I'm going to cook all my meals at home. All my dinners are going to be cooked at home. I'm not going to eat out. I'm not going to catch it on the go. I'm going to go home and I'm going to make dinner from scratch, and I'm going to have my family help me. So, what that does is it immediately brings us to our kitchen. Like, I can't cook in my kitchen if I'm not in my kitchen. And my kids can't help me if they're not in there, and my spouse. And we are all sharing the chores, and the whole time we're doing it, we're talking. We're not standing there in silence. We're creating these connections, looking each other in the eye, sharing about our day, making mistakes, even fighting with each other, like,
sure,
because
part
my
of it.
kids sometimes do that
Well,
anyway.
that's what
So
people
all of
do.
that is human interaction,
Right.
and it has taken us out from the broader world. All of our chores, all of our work, it's brought us home in this focused area on this focused task that is slow. Cooking from scratch is a lot slower than taking a box and throwing it in a pot or something. So, and that's a good goal. It's a good, healthy goal. Has so many healthy ramifications. But so if you do your brainstorming and you do your little word cloud and then you do your mission statement, you will have a lot of ideas that are just generated from what you already know about your family and yourself and what's in your home on your table. And you can start with one simple thing. So if we take dinner, so we're making dinner in my kitchen. I brought in the community of my family. Well, it turns out we really like cooking and we know how to make a lot of spaghetti at one time. So let's invite our neighbor and bring them in one week. And then there's this new family at church. So maybe like let's have them come One time we'll make more spaghetti because we know how to make it. It's not complicated. And then all of a sudden we're having a spaghetti cook-off in the summertime, and we've got 15 families on our deck that we didn't know 6 months ago just because I decided to make spaghetti at home. So we don't have to do that, but we can let it naturally happen. We'll feel more comfortable with these sort of hands-on, quiet activities and see that they improve our family relationships. And it's just natural to come invite in other people. One of the Hygge books, Holy Hygge, really talks about that a lot. And there was that one book you were actually reading. What was that book? I picked it up because you were reading it. I can't think now what it was called. Oh, this one. Didn't you recommend this book, The Life Giving Home?
No, that wasn't me, but that
No,
sounds really
wasn't.
good.
Sounds like you should read it. It's a book you'd like.
Okay. We'll write it down.
But that's life was The Life Giving Home, Creating a Place of Belonging and Becoming by Sally and Sarah Clarkson. This is like Hygge for Americans. Hygge before Hygge was a thing. Right. For Americans too, there's another one called American Cozy that is like our version of Hygge. So if you're new to it and you're an American, pick it up. It's a good book.
I'll put it in the notes for everybody.
Yes. Well, and pick up any Hygge book.
I'll get all these.
Okay. It's going to be, any Hygge book will be helpful. But you may find, like I did, that this is just stuff you're already intrinsically doing. It's just part of how you create home. And so you can expand on the ideas, keep what you're doing well, and then just broaden them a little bit and try. It's really hard for some people, I know, but try and invite in others into that circle because the world is darkening and people are really struggling. Our culture is really having a hard time right now. And it's not going to magically get better. Like we can't look to governments or doctors or therapists to fix it. We need to fix it because this is the family of man. It's our responsibility. So just, start where you are and build on it. And Hygge principles can help with that because they're comforting and they bring peace and they improve relationship.
Right. And that's, yeah. And I think if you have a strong home life, right? I mean, everybody has issues and troubles and problems.
Everybody's messed up. That's just how it is.
Everybody's. But if you have a home as a refuge, it really can become a place that will ripple out, whether you're inviting people in or just when you're going out into the world, you carry that with you. I think that's something I definitely do. I carry home with me when I go out into the world. It doesn't matter where I'm going, home is with me. And I think that allows people to feel comfortable and cozy around me.
And you don't even have to work to do it. You're just being you. And
right, exactly. It's a very authentic thing. And
right.
Obviously, I don't want anyone to be anything but themselves.
Right.
Don't be putting anything on. Just be you. No. It's just so much easier.
Yes.
So much easier.
More effective.
Yeah, and it's just better. Just be you. This is really wonderful. Is there anything else that you would like to tell us about Hygge that we should know before we end our chat? Not that we're in a hurry, but
I don't know. I guess just what I've learned these past few years where everything was hard and Hygge was hard. Like everything was just hard. The principles work. And like I said before, I think they work because they are simple. They don't require much of us. For me, like I said, I need to organize my thoughts and be deliberate. And for me, that means writing something down. But everybody does that according to their personality. But when you make that effort, when you take the time is probably our biggest commodity, right? So when we're sharing time with people, we're really showing them our love because that time is precious. Then things can change. So even if right now, like Hygge is the last thing on your mind and it sounds fake, like, sure, I'm going to cook dinner at home and my problems will be solved. No, but it's a place to start. Right. Like I said, Hygge is just a tool and tools are meant to work. And this one does. So it's one of the things that we can do. Oh, and I'm a big believer in like personal study time and prayer or meditation, whichever works for you. And like exercise, like all of these things are Hygge because they bring peace and they build relationships. So I would just say, trust the process. It works. Right. Even and especially in our extreme moments when we really feel like there is no peace or comfort and nothing's cozy. Right. It's just hard. These principles will work.
And one of the things you said about it, it's not going to magically fix things. And one of the things my dad used to say to me when I was growing up was like, whenever something was going wrong, he would be like, you didn't get in that hole overnight. You're not going to get out of it overnight.
That is absolutely true. Relationships take time.
Right. And even if my husband and I have been married almost 25 years now. And so,
Ooh.
that's a long time together.
Mhm.
But, and obviously, any relationship, you go up and down, right? But I think as long as you have some sort of foundation, then no matter what is going on, you have a way to, and these are something that can help just make that better.
Mhm.
Anytime you spend time together, things should hopefully get better. I mean, hopefully,
It's
right?
it's true. It's just sort of a natural one. And if you're in a position like where you are contributing heavily to the hygge, like moms do, wives
Sure.
do, but this isn't just a female thing. Men,
No.
there's a very male vibe in a lot of the hygge activities, and so many of them cross over that each person can have their role. And the thing about it is because so much of it is based on tradition and ritual, like daily stuff, monthly stuff, yearly stuff, holidays are a huge, like if you want to see hygge in action, go to Holland at Christmas time. Like it's just
Right.
crazy. It's a huge, holidays are a thing. They really connect with them, especially those winters ones, because they're always about light.
Right.
Um, so that ritual, it's cyclical. It's like the seasons. It's comforting. You know what's coming next. So no matter how bad my week is, I know it ends in Friday. Friday we're going to have pizza and movie night. Sunday we're going to have family meeting and game night. These are just things that I know are coming, and they
Right.
comfort me just by anticipating them.
Right. Absolutely.
Even
Yeah.
if game night ends in a brawl, whatever. We
Right.
had it. There was some laughing before we started
Right.
fighting about who won Uno.
Right. Oh gosh, Uno. I haven't played Uno in so long. Very fun.
Well,
I
you're
love it.
invited. There's an open
Oh,
invitation. Come anytime.
thank you very much, and you're always welcome here too. All right. Well, Tessa, tell everybody where they can find you online, and we will put a link to the show notes to your hygge guide for people to sign up and get.
Right. So yeah, that'll just be we have a newsletter like everybody on earth does, and it'll show up in your inbox about 3 times a week. And we have a huge library of free stuff. So you get on the newsletter, and the hygge workbook will be in there. It's like 20 something pages, maybe 30. So it's pretty helpful. And if you want the blog, that's homesteadlady.com. On Facebook, I don't do a lot of Facebook, but we do have a group, and the group is called the Do It Yourself Homestead. That was the first book we wrote.
Book, which is fabulous.
So we're there. I'm on Pinterest if you're a Pinterest kind of person, but I wouldn't advise being a Pinterest kind of person.
Yeah, Pinterest.
Send me a message on the website. Or respond to an email. I will always respond back.
There you go. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This was so fabulous. I
Thank you
enjoyed
for
it so
having
much.
me. So good to talk to you.
Thank you.